Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are around the world. Welcome to Coffee with Omega. This is a Zoom interview series that we do every month with the KW Young Professionals chapter, KW Young Professionals Triangle chapter. We're here in the Raleigh-Durham market, the capital metro area of North Carolina, proud members of Keller Williams Young Professionals, which is a segment specifically of the Keller Williams franchise, largest real estate franchise in the world, dedicated to agents under 40. Now, you don't have to be under 40 to be a member of Young Professionals. We are open to anyone. Everyone has a different way they describe YP and what the young professionals community means to them. I usually say it's high productivity, high positivity, high energy people. That's what it means to me. It's changed my life. I am the husband, the father, and lastly, the realtor that I am today. And I say that in order because being in this YP community, being with you guys, people like Erin, has changed my life in many, many ways. But today is not about me. Today is about my friend Erin Wheelock in New York City. We do these interviews every month where we bring on someone who's just they're living an inspiring life and an inspiring business, because in real estate, we all got into this for one reason or another, whether it's to have more flexibility and more autonomy, more income earning potential, to learn how to invest, whatever the reason. And we're going to hear Erin's reasons shortly. We're all doing it for our lives, right? In Keller Williams, we talk about living a life by design, not just going through life as default. So whether you're watching this live today or whether you are watching it on the YouTube recording later, I encourage you to reach out to Erin, reach out to anyone on this call that you resonate with. And if you don't yet, whether you're outside of real estate, thinking about it, any of one of us would love to be an encouragement to you. Or if you're any sort of realtor who's with Keller Williams that doesn't yet have a young professionals chapter in their area, let this be an encouragement that you could start one. It'll change your business. It'll change your life if you do that. And if you already have a chapter, just get plugged in. You don't have to start paying yet, but go to an event, hop on a Zoom like this. We are very much an abundance mindset community where we love to give first before we ask of anything. And with that said, I think I'm going to jump right into Erin and her bio. And so one thing we're going to do, I'm going to read a quick bio about Erin. I'm going to give a few little tidbits of my own personal flavor that she does not know I'm going to mention. And then we're going to jump right into her knowledge and wisdom she's going to share with us today. So with nearly 11 years in the industry, Erin can easily be classified as a seasoned real estate professional with specializations in market numbers, quality, knowledge, and client care. Erin is part of the elite top 5% of her market center in Manhattan, right there off Park Avenue. She's a member of Keller Williams Sports Entertainment, and she also spearheads the efforts of Keller Williams' internal charity, KW Cares, where she utilizes her talents to fundraise to support those in need. Erin's team has 6 agents, 5 operations staff, and they're on track to close over $60 million in real estate volume this year. So absolutely a mega agent doing a lot of business in one of the coolest markets in the country. Now, personally, some things I love about Erin, she is a world traveler. She does her own YouTube series called Where to Wheelock. And oh no, I had my picture pulled up. I'm gonna have to find it again. When I met Erin was at Family Reunion, which is our annual conference we do with Keller Williams in Dallas in 2020. And it's where I decided I wasn't going to leave Keller Williams and I was going to double down with this group of people called young professionals who just were so inspiring. And one of those was this lady here in a bright pink blazer with a nice hat on. And I was like, who is this fashionable lady here? That's just, she's handing out these little Manhattan recipes and she's got this really flamboyant style. And to be honest, I judged her. And then the second I started talking to her, I realized how nice she was. And then as we started talking about our business, I realized how much of a badass she was. So I'm not going to spoil all those things. I'm going to let you guys do it. But since then, Erin has become a good friend of mine. I've seen her in Manhattan a few times on KW trips. I've seen her at these various conferences, and I'm excited for her to share with you guys. And I encourage you, come off camera or come off your mute and bring your face to the screen if you can and ask questions of Erin. Please, at any time, you can use the hand raise icon or just blurt in and ask a question that you're dying to get to. So with that said, Erin, are you ready to jump in?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, thank you so much. I don't know if you can see, I think I got so red. You're making me blush. That's very, very sweet of you. And I absolutely admire you and what you've done, especially through YP. I think, as Patrick said, if anybody is thinking about joining or is thinking about starting a chapter, Patrick is someone that you need to talk to because clearly he lives and breathes this. And there's no better person out there to help encourage you to make that step.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's thanks to YP. So I'm just going to deflect all the gratitude back to the community that's helping me become a part of that. So with that said, Erin, tell us how you got into real estate. Where are you from? What was your early jobs? What was the college career path like? How'd you get to where you decided to get into real estate to start with?
Yes. Well, it all started when I was born, and no, I'm just kidding. So I was born and raised in Wisconsin. I went to school in northern Wisconsin at a school called Viterbo University. And I went to school for musical theater. So after that, my clear path, I did some regional theater and I was like, I have to go to New York, right? Came here, I got really lucky. I worked with an off-Broadway theater company for a few years. But that pays like chips, right? So also bartended on the side. And I had an apartment that was, I kid you not, 7 feet wide by 14 feet long. And that included the kitchen. And my rent was $900 a month. And everybody told me it was such a steal. And I was like, are you sure?
9 feet wide? Did you say that?
7 feet
Oh,
wide,
7
and
feet
14
wide?
feet long.
What?
Yeah. I had a futon that I couldn't open because it like wouldn't fit because I had something on the other side to set things on. It was great. My little hole in the wall apartment in New York City. And eventually after a few years, I was like, I just want a different lifestyle. I want a better lifestyle. And so there were two kind of things with this. Number one, I loved going around and finding buildings because this was back, I moved here 14 years ago. So back in like 2008, the financial crisis was going on. And I loved like walking around and seeing buildings that were coming down and everything. And I had a really good friend who worked for a financial institution for developers. And he was like, started putting me in contact with these developers. He's like, why don't you send them this and send them this? And I loved that. And he was like, you need to get licensed. And then secondly, my oldest sister, Michelle, she actually does student housing in Wisconsin. So that was always really cool. I always loved going to see what she was doing. And every year we'd have to go clean up after the students, which was not my favorite thing, but pretty empowering to see her build a really big business off of that. So I knew real estate was something that I could fall in love with. So then I got into it.
At one point, I think we were in Orlando for family reunion at karaoke the final night. And I was trying to tell someone about you. You were across the bar singing karaoke or something. And I was like, oh, that's Erin Wheelock from New York. And she does this cool Where to Wheelock series. And I tried to pull it up on YouTube. And I happened to find a video of you doing like an audition or like a highlight reel from your acting days on YouTube from like, I don't know, 10 years ago or something. And there was another video of you. Were you getting a pie in the face or something? I forget what.
Oh yeah. For Alzheimer's, I got pie in the face.
Yeah. So if you want some old school Erin Wheelock content, go look to the early, just YouTuber and hit like reverse by date. And sorry, I'm giving out all your secrets, but no, Erin's great. You guys got to check out her Where to Wheelock series. So let's jump into that. What was it like making that jump into real estate? Were you scared? Were you confident? Did you work on someone else's team to get started? Did you have a mentor? Just tell us what your journey was like.
Yeah. So when I got into it, I had just helped someone who was my then boyfriend find his first apartment. And this guy, his name was Steven, he showed a few apartments and everything. And I worked with him. And then when I saw the check that this guy was getting, I was like, wait a second, I could have a better life. And so I actually went to the firm he was at, and he was the sales manager. So he really mentored me in it. The one thing I will say is in New York, rentals are a big part of business. And when I started, about 11 years ago, when I started, it was a time where I guess people needed realtors. Now there's a lot more information online. And of course, you can make a great business off of rentals, but it was just a little different then. So I was like hustling on Craigslist versus now there's just a different form of the hustle, right? Also the firm that I was in, they really wanted people to stay in rentals because it's quick, easy money. I remember talking about sales and they're like, why would you want to do that? It's not going to close for 6 months. Keep pushing the rentals. So, eventually, I ended up moving from there with another agent to another firm. And it was at the next firm. No, actually, I was at one firm for like 30 days, worked on a sale there, but then went to another firm as a boutique firm, and they helped us get into sales. I remember I got a call from this guy one day. His name is Hoob. He's one of my all-time advocates. I absolutely adore this man. But he called. We had spoken about a year prior, and he didn't want to sell. Called. I was actually stopping in the office on my way to the beach. So I was in like a swimsuit underneath jean shorts and this little skimpy top. And he called and he was like, Erin, this is Hoob. Do you remember me? And I was like, yeah, of course. And he's this, penthouse in Chelsea. And he was like, it's time to sell. Can you meet today? And I was like, oh, of course I can. Right. Thankfully, my manager, who is amazing and just amazing all around realtor. He was like, I'm going to help you. you need to go buy some clothes. So we were meeting like 2 hours. I went to this shop around the corner. I think the only thing I found that fit was like this red dress with these like big shoulder pads and everything. It was so bad. But ended up making the appointment, and I was there with my manager, who of course was able to really talk us through, and that was how I got the first sale. But I will say, I think the reason why I hired us was because, I said, I was like, this is going to be the first one for me. I'm going to hustle. I really want this. I'll do everything. And I mean, I was planting plants on the roof one time he came by. I was putting caulk around his ceiling to get rid of some of the cracks from the building settling. I remember him coming in when I was caulking. He was like, oh, you really meant you would do this? I was like, no, we will do the work. And since then, he's just been a huge advocate for me. But that was where the sales part started.
Wow. Yeah. New York's such a different market where you can make living off of leases, and luxury leases can be really expensive. And that's a great way to fill in the gaps in between your business. So what is it like to get in? See, what year did you start sales? Essentially like the real beginning of your sales career in New York?
Like 12, 11.
12. So almost 10 years now, 10, 11 years. Awesome.
Yeah.
So was that before or after these New York $1 million listing celebrities had really taken off, the Ryan Serhants and the Frederick Eklunds? And what's it like to be in their market? Like, we can't imagine the intimidation factor, whether you're like, have you ever competed for a listing with these guys, or just what's the mindset going into that market that's so cutthroat?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. I haven't thought about that before. So I believe I got in before that really became a thing. I do remember a listing that I worked on showed up on the show in a very different way than what actually happened. So that's when I learned how scripted it was. And I think, I think it's probably like anywhere with the reality TV show. What happens in that reality TV show is this little bubble that's kind of somewhere, but it's not reality of what's happening. I mean, you guys know as well as I do, I'm never sitting in one room on the phone with the seller and then the buyer's in the room next door. And I'm like, that's it. We have a deal. Contract's out tomorrow. We're sold. It's, I don't know. It just doesn't work that way. But what I will say is, I don't know if I've ever necessarily been intimidated. I'm sure I've gone up against them for listings. I'm sure of it. Right. I have worked with Serhant's team a lot, like bringing a buyer, or having a seller for their team. But yeah, no, I guess I just haven't really thought about it.
That's awesome. You're such a badass. It doesn't even cross your mind.
No.
And the reality is there's so much business in New York to go around. Right. And it's just the same, really. It's no different. Just because they're on screen doesn't mean it's any different than a top listing agent in any of our markets. Right. In Raleigh, I know we have agents who could intimidate me if that's the mindset I choose to take by it. And many times, I would say more often than not, that probably has been the mindset I've taken by it. So why don't we dig into mindset a little bit? You're successful in your career. What is it like when you wake up in the morning and let's say maybe the first thing you see is just like a deal's falling apart, or something's gone just terribly sideways? How do you, as a top agent in New York, what is it like to how do you keep yourself focused and motivated on your goals and on your productivity?
Can I actually start a little earlier in my life about mindset?
Go for it.
Okay. So I am so lucky. I have a father who he actually used to work on language so he was a chiropractor, but he also worked with athletes on what language made their accuracy better. So like he worked with an archer who went to the Olympics on like what words, what visualizations, which you have to do before, going and competing in order to have the best results. So that's the environment that I grew up in. Which also means I grew up in the environment when I was like 13 years old, and I'd come home and I'd be like, Dad, she made me so mad. And he'd be like, Erin, nobody makes you mad. You choose how you react. No 13-year-old wants to hear this. I was like livid. Yeah. I didn't want to hear any of this. Right. But then after I poo-pooed it for a long time, now in my older years, I'm like, that was the best thing in the world. So I am very aware, which then I sometimes beat myself up over, but I'm very aware that I 100% control everything within my world in terms of how I'm going to react to something, how I'm going to go into a conversation, maybe even a difficult conversation. And that's all in my control. So like, as an example, this morning I woke up and I felt super weird energy. I don't know. There was a full moon outside of my window in the morning. I was like, what's going on? But I also know I can change my state, right? So I did gratitude meditation. So I did gratitude for 10 minutes as a meditation. Then I journaled. I always do a meditation in the morning. I journal in the morning. Workout. I think that's really good. Like getting your physical body moving. So that's really how I like to start a day. But there have been many times where either I'm going to have a difficult conversation with the seller, right? Like price reductions, or maybe I'm going into an appointment or something that I may be nervous about because of the price point or something. And I will sit and I will meditate and I will visualize what I want out of it. And then it just puts me, I think, in a much more confident position to get it done. And, you know, I really do think that things turn out the way you expect them to. And it's so easy to get intimidated about things and be like, oh, this is going to go terrible. It's going to go terrible. Well, you're definitely right. And so I think that's why the visualization with mindset is so important for me, because if I can see a really good outcome and I can see the win at the end, whatever that is, then I know it's possible to happen. So I think that's just kind of what really drives me forward when things get tough.
Yeah. It's so funny. Thank you for going back. You have the permission. This interview is yours to whatever you want to speak about. Meditation has been on my mind so much lately because I've started a daily yoga practice recently, mostly for mental health reasons. It's changing my physical health as well, but I did not realize, and specifically if I do it in the mornings, it does some weird integration of like my mind and body and sympathetic and parasympathetic. And like it keeps me stable throughout the day. So I'm doing it honestly for like a happiness and a productivity side of things, just to be the person I think I can be. And the physical benefits will be great as well. But I had no idea how much meditation is a part of that. I've never gone and just tried to meditate. And I think a lot of us hear meditation, whether you listen to like big podcasts like Tim Ferriss or Joe Rogan or any of these business development, Jay Shetty, Mel Robbins, these kind of men and women who are really influential in the mindset space. But a lot of us don't know where to start. So for me, I meditate just by listening to what my yoga teacher tells me to do, specifically the beginning and the ending of class when you're just laying there. For you, can I ask you like nitty gritty meditation? Do you just know how to do it? Or did you have to start with like a guided meditation on like the Calm app? I know is really popular right now. How do you?
My lights turn off.
Oh, you're fine. Yeah, no worries. How do you meditate? Like, what does that look like for you? If you can share, if someone is curious about starting meditation because they want that same kind of peace and groundedness, what does that mean to you? And how can you encourage someone to start?
Yeah. So I think that meditation can be anything. I think even you know, if you have a relationship with God, praying could be meditation. I think if you're more spiritual, you know, like universe, spirit guides, whatever you believe in, like that can even just be meditation, right? Just like sitting, listening, maybe speaking in your head or whatever that is. I think for me, I definitely go between needing a guided meditation or wanting a guided meditation to be walked through something. I know there's like a Bob Proctor abundance meditation that I actually listen to a lot when I'm going to bed. But I think if you want to get started, number one is don't overthink it, because your mind is going to go in and out, and it's so easy to have judgment on yourself. Like, oh, I just can't. Thanks, Jen. Teamwork. She was trying to come in and turn on the light. So I think
you look great. The light's fine too. On or off, either way is great.
Thank you.
Yep.
We're giving up on the light. So I think really it's about not having judgment and just being okay, sitting and being still, and then just whatever comes, and whatever doesn't come, doesn't come. And start with maybe 5 minutes, then maybe work your way up. I know somebody who is very successful. He's been a mentor to me in the past, Mark Yegi, and he will meditate for an hour in the morning and an hour at night.
Wow.
I'm not there. But I know for some people, it really has helped their lives in a lot of different ways. But there's also something called Insight Timer. It's a free app, and you can either, just like set a timer for 5 minutes if you just want to, you know, listen to soothing music or something and just sit in silence. Or they have guided meditations, and there's probably thousands on there, and you could just search something like if you want to meditate about something like releasing something or allowing things in, whatever it is, they have meditations for that. So that's another great outlet.
I'm glad you reminded me of Insight Timer. My therapist a few weeks ago told me about it and I forgot. I think I wrote it down somewhere and lost it. But that reminded me of Spotify actually has some meditations as well. You can most of us have Spotify. You can go search it. Yeah. It's a little harder to find because it's not as curated as like the call map or what I imagine insight timer that's geared oriented around that. But if someone, you, Erin, or anyone, I struggled a lot with falling asleep the past few years. And I recently found something called Yoga Nidra, yoga, Nidra. It's not yoga at all. It's usually like laying in your bed. It's just a guided meditation for you to just to get your mind off of things. And so much of us in real estate, it's the kind of business, and we're going to get into your business in just a second, but it's the kind of business that will take any second we give it and then some. You know, you're trying to go to the beach for vacation and Hoob calls you to list his penthouse in Chelsea, right? And like we can make conscious decisions throughout the day. Usually when you're trying to make money, especially us and the young professionals, we're on the hustling front edge of our careers, mostly building a team, solo agent, living that life by design, and we can really be consumed by workaholism. And so we need to turn off at the end of the day. So I think that's so crucial that you're really caring for yourself on the mindset side, on the fitness side, just routine, because this business is crazy. I can't even imagine how crazy it is in New York. So let's talk about that. What structures do you have around lead gen, and what are you doing to, pick up new listings in this market?
Oh, that's such a good question. So I will say, I think it looks a little different now because I have the team versus in the beginning. So,
I would love to hear what both of those were like too, if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. So lead generation has to happen, right? It doesn't matter. It has to happen. The other thing that I'm always very aware of is that every way out there works for lead generation, but you have to be super clear on what your like top 3 to 5 ways of lead gen are. And then especially in today's market, it's doubling down. So I know that New York is working a little bit differently than other areas. However, we're in a down market, but we have been coming down since end of 15, early 16. So we started to have a little bit of a, an up in 2021, but I don't know if it was as much of an up as we were actually closed and couldn't do deals. So it was like trying to get a year and a half worth of deals done in 1 year.
It's like a rebound.
Exactly. And so right now, it's not the right time for everybody to sell. So for me, the lead generation has changed a little bit more focus on buyers because we don't want to lose out on the people who actually can be getting deals now. And going back to who were the people that bought in 14, who are the people that bought in 13, 12, who didn't sell in 2017, because our market today is not that far off from 2017. So going back to those things and trying to be more strategic and then showing them the numbers of what's actually happening, right? Because we can show them graphs that make it, or that are showing us like we've kind of hit a bottom. I don't know what's going to happen in 3 months, but right now it seems like we're just kind of stable here. Doesn't look like we have this huge crash. So is now the right time for them to sell?
And I love what you said at the beginning of this, that it's not the right time for everyone to sell. I mean, what if someone locked in a 2.5% interest rate for 30 years on prime New York real estate? We as their advisors it'd be a great listing, right? And it'd probably sell pretty quickly depending on how we price it. But what if we advise them to hold it and rent it and build their wealth long-term? They are going to love us so much more. And so I think us as agents at this shifting market, we need to be advising people, hey, you may want to hold on to that actually. And it may mean you have a few months in between an Airbnb where you move out and then you get a renter, and then the bank can use that to offset your debt to income ratio. But I think we have a duty and a huge opportunity to help first-time buyers who've locked in or anytime buyers turn into investors and really change their life and their history. I know you're really passionate about investing, which we're going to talk about soon too. So how do you set yourself apart? You're lead generating differently. You're doubling down. You're picking up listings. What do you do to set apart yourself? What's the Wheelock team DNA that would make someone hire you versus a Ryan Serhant?
I don't know lyrics to songs. No.
Follow Jen Ciliano on Instagram if you want to see the behind the scenes footage of Erin singing in her office.
I'm always getting busted for that. No, you know what? I think it's a couple things. I think number one, I really want to be honest, right? So like you said, there are so many people that you could just try to push into a listing, give them a BS price. Don't worry, I can get that for you. But that's not how I want to run my business, because if somebody does that and it expires, I want them to call me because I did the right thing, or I can build a relationship with them until the time where it is right. I also think something that sets us apart is our service. We are so service oriented. Like the second a seller signs a listing agreement with us, we're sending them a bottle of champagne. When they go into contract, they're getting a gift. Anytime we get a referral, we send a gift. We're very service oriented. And also asking every client before we start working with them, buyer or seller, what do they expect out of us in terms of communication, right? How often, if you're at work, do you want me to call a work number or just text your cell phone between these hours? Do you need to sign things in person, or are you okay electronically? And I think that people really appreciate that, because we may not know that they always have meetings between this time and this time every day. And we might just call them and unknowingly start to upset them, right? So I think setting those expectations up from the beginning with our clients really helps us to make sure that we are still continuing to give the best service possible. And then, to be honest with you, I think we just bring an aspect of fun. We have a great track record in selling homes and, really working with like the buyer psychology to get people in, get offers, things like that. But I think at the end of the day, if you're going to spend time with someone, right, do you want to be spending this time with someone that you could have fun with, that you like and enjoy, or someone that you're just going to, talk to a few times and never be a part of again? So, I talk to people about our events and how we do pies for Thanksgiving. And, also I made cheese with a client a couple months ago. I mean, like, I'm always down for whatever and building those relationships. And again, just having fun. I mean, I don't know if you can see our wall of culture over there behind me. We have a really embarrassing photo of each of us on the wall, because we don't take it too seriously, right? Like we like to have fun while taking the client's money extremely seriously. Just want to say that.
Yeah. What I heard you say about your customer service, you described a few events that happen. What I know as a business owner is what really you have are systems. You're not going out to the the post office and sending a bottle of champagne or sending your courier. You probably have someone on your team who organizes that. So tell us about can you get us nitty gritty? Like, is there a certain software you use for those automated giftings or automated touch points?
Yeah. So I use AvaBot. It's EVABOT, AvaBot, for all of our referral gifts. And then
can somebody put that in the chat, find the link maybe and put it there so that way you guys can click on it? That AvaBot. Okay. What else?
Yeah. And it's great because you can either send it to their phone or you can send it to their email, and there's different tiers that you can be a part of. But the nice thing is it can gather information too. So it can gather their birthday and different things, which is always really helpful. We also have this thing, we call it the brain. It's called Nuclino. Let me see how to actually spell this. Nuclino, Nuclino. So we use this for our system. So it looks, am I going to be able to?
The brightness might be a little bit, tap on your screen.
There we go. Oh yeah.
There it is. Yep.
Lower the brightness of this.
Yeah, I think that might work.
I'm here to learn. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's good.
Okay.
So this is Nuclino. So this has all of our systems. So you can click on, like, one says buyers. So if you click on it, then it brings up like all of the systems for the buyers. And then you can click through and, like, it'll take you to like the pre-qual. So everything is really in one spot so that we don't miss a beat. We use Command pretty heavily as well in terms of opportunities and building out systems on that. But this is really nice because when it comes to service, it has to be the same for everyone, right? If somebody is giving a referral to you for their friend to buy, that buyer needs the same service that the first buyer got, because that's why they're giving them to you or recommending you. And when you have every system spelt out, that's the best way to maintain that level.
Yeah, I love that. And then it sounded too, like you said, first it was service and then it was fun. Like you let your personality come through. I think a lot of agents feel like they need to recreate Ryan Serhant just to keep using your market. Or they may think they need to recreate the coach or the mentor. Someone may think that if they're younger and they're following me, they need to recreate me with the flannel shirt and shaving their head or whatever. Was there a tension you experienced at all where you decided, you know what, I'm pretending to be someone else. How do I let Erin Wheelock come through my team? How do I be more authentically myself? And what is that transition like?
Yeah. That's a really good question. I don't know if I have a specific answer for it. However, I will say, like 2 years ago, oh no, you know what it was? It was when I shaved my head, when I was trying to copy you. No, when I went through like this, so I'd always wanted a pixie cut. And my best friend is a hairstylist, and he's always like, you're going to hate it. You'll look good, but like, you're going to hate the grow out process. And I was like, no. So he ended up giving me a pixie cut, and my hair was like down to here. Like he cut off 13 inches before, getting real short, and I lost my identity. I enjoyed the cut, don't get me wrong, but I didn't know who I was anymore. And it was like my comfort blanket was gone that I didn't even know was a comfort blanket. And I didn't even know it was my identity. And all of a sudden I felt really lost for a little bit. And I think that was when I realized, like, I have to figure out who is Erin. And then I have been very purposeful the last few years on just being as authentic as possible. Because, I think in everything in life, right? Those who get it are going to get it, and that's great. And those that don't get it, it's okay. I feel that way about a lot of things, but especially like with authenticity, right? I would much rather work with people who like me and not someone that I have to necessarily put on the dog and pony show for or something like that. So I think it's just something that I got really purposeful.
Yeah.
Probably right after COVID or right after COVID started.
Most of the people on this call who are, the sales producing agent or the team leader, maybe a little less so if you're on the admin side, but most of the people on this call are very gifted with people, very gifted charismatically, mirror and matching. And I think that I was talking to Madison Peeler about this yesterday, a great YP friend of mine, how we can often get exhausted with just trying to match people. One, because it's survival. Like literally, if we connect with them, we can have a client that puts food on our table. And in a 100% commission sales industry, we often have to live and die in the early days by our charisma and our connectivity skills. If you meet someone at an open house, that might be your only client. So this process of unraveling, what advice do you have for people who might be struggling with finding their identity? Do they need to chop their hair off and just figure it out and jump in the deep end? Do they need to do some yoga? Like, how would you encourage a younger agent that's kind of struggling with finding their identity in the business?
Yeah. So I think a lot of it goes from where you want to go and then backtrack. So, and that probably again goes back to, I think actually visionary is my number 3 strength in strength finders. So for me, this is an automatic, or I should say, sorry, for me, this might be more natural than for other people. So I think if you're really struggling to find your identity, I think the first thing to do is to find out, okay, who do you resonate with? What are they like? What is their identity? And then kind of taking, if you see like, oh, well, I've noticed all these people that I like are into fitness and I actually really like fitness. Okay. That seems to work for me. Great. I'll keep that. And then start from that future picture of, all of these things that you love and you want to be a part of your life and who you are. And then I would just kind of, that whole act as if, and then you will be.
Yep.
Right.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, exactly. I would do that. But I think it's really, I got to tell you, today's world, I feel like it is so easy to just label yourself, right? Everything is a condition. Everything is something that's wrong with you that can be fixed, blah, 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 blah. And I think sometimes it's really easy to get lost and have your identity become all of these labels that are being put on you from all over. And I think it takes a lot of time. And I think it takes a lot of patience to get super, super clear with yourself on okay, I like this. I don't like this. I like this. I don't like this. And wanting to be someone else isn't inauthentic because it's not maybe who you are today. That might just be that you have habits or different little pieces of yourself that you don't want to be your identity. So I want to be clear on that as well, because I think sometimes when people think, oh, well, trying to be this isn't authentic, but maybe that's who you actually want to be. And there's maybe some things right now that you don't love about, your day-to-day or your self habits or whatever it is. Right. And then moving into that is really moving into your authentic self, because I think when you're your authentic self that you want to be, that's when you get in alignment with I'm very into energy, right? So when you get in alignment with the universe.
I'm loving this. This is great.
Yeah.
Therapy hour with Erin Wheelock. Coffee with a therapist.
I love it.
I love this too. And it's funny too, and not to talk about Ryan Serhant more, but when I read his book, Big Money Energy, I was fascinated by the fact that he wasn't he faked it till he made it. Even everything down to literally getting a fake Rolex. That is about as fake as you can get when it comes to presenting an image that's not real. And yet it was his future image. He just wasn't there yet. If I can kind of get where you're going with that, you have that image. someone like me, it's a little harder. I don't have that vision. I do have some visionary skills. Anyway, we don't have to get into all that. But one thing Erin mentioned when she mentioned visionary as her third skill, she's referring to the Strength Finder test, which has now been rebranded. I think it's Clifton's Strengths.
Yes.
Look that up. It's worth the, I don't know, 40 or 50 bucks to get the full report, not just the free one, but there are a million tests out there. Obviously in the Keller Williams ecosphere, we have the KPA. Before that, we relied heavily on the DISC and the AVA as well. Those still exist. There's the Myers-Briggs test. There's which Hogwarts house do you belong in? You know, there's what's your Enneagram? Enneagram is one of my favorite ones. And so I would encourage anyone on this call that is struggling with this, like something Erin and I have both struggled with, dig into these tests if you can. And also to just get out there and try things. Like sometimes you don't know who you are. Are you a marathon runner? I don't know. We're never going to know if you sit on the couch, but if you give it a shot, you'll find out. Maybe you will be, and maybe you won't. But if you aren't, awesome. Now you know, and you won't be left wondering. So if anyone needs any encouragement to take a leap into something scary, what's the quote? Everything you've ever wanted lies on the other side of fear. I forget who said that, but it's not my quote. It's someone out there. But when you get that, I had an opportunity on Monday, actually, that I committed to, and it kind of scared the crap out of me. And I feel like it's being more true to my true self. You know, like one of the biggest regrets of the dying is that they wish they hadn't played small ball as much. They wish they had pursued and shot their shot and asked the girl out, whatever the thing is that you want or you're struggling with, do it, try it and see how it goes. The worst thing that's going to happen is it won't happen. As long as it's legal, then you might.
Yeah, as long as it's legal.
Yeah.
No, I love that so much. Honestly, I feel as though now whenever I get really uncomfortable or scared, I'm like, oh, that means I have to take this or I have to do this because that's just the next level. So
yep.
uncomfort
100%.
or discomfort, fear. Yeah.
Yep. And I've got to do a highlight real quick of my boy, Erin, one of our favorite people, Jev. What's up, Jev? I see you there, man. Talk with someone who rocks his hair, who is himself and is taking a jump. Jev, I mean, do you want to tell people what you're doing, man? You're investing in a big life change. Give us 30 seconds on what's going on.
Hello, all. Love y'all. Thank you for letting me take a little bit of Erin's spotlight. I actually, everyone's actually going bald when it comes to real estate. I actually grew my hair out. Been in 6 years. And the reason why it's like that, I actually have alopecia. So my hair doesn't grow evenly throughout my whole head. It actually just goes like right here and like sparingly. Thankfully, with God's graces, it actually glows straight down the middle. So I grew it out. And then when we did the LA chapter launch for KUIP, I dyed it platinum blonde because what else is more LA than platinum blonde, right?
That's amazing. And you're moving soon, right? Are we going to talk about you moving? Can you give us a download on that, or is that?
To New York?
Living a life by design. Yeah, New York. No, we were there. We wish we would have saw you. However, my wife and I and our 2 dogs are taking our talents to Thailand. We're going to go live a life by design. It's actually kind of what you talked about, Erin, which is great. The lost identity. I'm looking at it as not like a self-recovery and also maybe even a self-rediscovery of who I am, what my passion, what my purpose is. Because I always loved helping people and I've always loved fashion. That's what got me into real estate. And going back to how you specialize yourself, 13,000 agents in San Antonio. I don't even know what number is in New York. How can you set yourself apart? How can you make them want to work with you? People like to work with people that are like them. That's why I'm always into where to Wheelock, because that's so cool. So I would love to learn where to Wheelock and know about the city from my realtor. And that she does that consistently is just even better. It's like, all right, well, I don't know what to do this week, or I'm new to here, or this and this. And then go to Erin's page and they're like, okay, where do we lock? And then we can go here. This is her suggestions. She knows New York. She's the local specialist. Hyper focused on that. And also just connecting with people. The same thing, like you said, the morning meditation people, get involved with those people, have an accountability group, and also be the realtor for that meditation group or whatever it may be. If you're working out, work out and be the realtor for that group.
Jeff, I'm so excited for you. And by the way, if anybody doesn't know him, you have to know him. Also like Patrick, whenever I see you guys at our conferences, they're just like these balls of light that just like float towards you. And you're like, yes! It's just this energy of greatness and wonderfulness. And I'm just so happy.
Appreciate that. That's KWYP. That's the family.
That is it. That's the community. That's why we do this. It's why I continue to invest in YP.
Ain't that right,
quick question for you guys. Can you still see me and hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. My screen is totally frozen. Everyone, Cody Hobbs in Oklahoma is taking a sip of coffee and it's not moving right now. So I'm just going to keep powering through. If something cuts off, this computer's frozen, I apologize, but we're going to keep asking questions. So Erin, what,
Jeff.
I love it.
He did a frozen stance.
Oh, that's awesome. Let me see here. I want to jump into something that I didn't have on the list, but something about you, speaking of where to Wheelock, something that's unique to you is your travels to Albania and your business development and potential investing that you're doing there. Can you tell us like how that came about? Because Albania is a country that so many people have never heard of, or if they have, they couldn't tell you a single thing other than it has some connection to like where Voldemort hid some Horcruxes, I think, right? Deep in Albania. That's like the only thing I know about it other than what I've learned from you. So tell us about how that came about and what you're up to over there.
Totally. So yeah, so I've always had a bug to travel. I love to travel. It makes me happy. Being in a plane above the earth is like literally my happy place. So what happened was COVID came and we couldn't travel. We couldn't go to other countries. And I was seeing someone from Greece and he was like, Albania's open. And literally I was the person that was like, where is that on the map? Embarrassed to say, but I've heard great things. And I knew some people that are from there, one of them who's in real estate here in New York City. And so I immediately look up, is there a Keller Williams in Albania? And there isn't. So I reached out to Bill, the head of Worldwide, and I'm like, Bill, I'm going to Albania and I want to open up a Keller Williams. How does this work? So we hop on a Zoom and he was like, isn't that where Taken happened? I'm like, I don't know. Awesome. So we start talking and he kind of walks me through the process of like how to find the people there to open up a KW. And a lot of it is really about like explaining the vision of the person you're looking for to open it up. And then basically at the end, asking that person, like, do you know anybody like that? In hopes that the person will be like, no, that's me, right? I'm the one. So I don't know how I ended up like reaching out to some people. Who do you know that's over there? People that I know here in the US who they knew. Then when I got there, I started, having these sit down meetings with people. Who do you know? And then they would send me to other people and they would send me to other people. And then I finally got someone that was like, that's me. I would love to do this. So they started going through the process to open up KW Albania. And so there's a positive and a negative of what happened, or no. So we're going through the process. They ended up being beat out by somebody else that came in for the office, but that's okay. I ended up making so many relationships over there that we're actually launching a new development. So we're going to be selling
like
out
a building development.
So we're going to represent the developer to sell out 30 luxury villas in Albania and then 2 of his other properties. And they have a bunch of other new developments to come after this. This is their first out of multiple things. But I mean, it literally came from going there and it wasn't a one time. Like I went there like every month during COVID and had meetings and talked to people and then just building the relationships and so, finding opportunity where you don't necessarily think there's opportunity, which is also, I have to say something that I love about Keller Williams. And also I think a lot of it is also a part of YP because YP is a group of people that are a little bit younger, right? And wanting bigger things. And I think it's great to be a part of a community that pushes you because you see these people building these huge lives. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait, that's possible. I want that too. I'm going to go build that. So it's really awesome and inspiring to be a part of this group so that you can learn how to think bigger.
100%. I love that so much. And it started, you glossed over this, but you were seeing someone like a partner in Greece and COVID shut down your travel. And so you said, well, where can we meet? Albania. Let's make something happen in Albania. And so you like necessity is the mother of invention and you're selling 30 Albanian luxury villas. Like what does one of those go for if you're able to share pricing at this point? Like,
so they're actually, I'm so excited. We're just getting the commercial done today. I have to do a voiceover for it to be in English. But they're ranging between like 1.5 and then there's smaller because it's like an entire gated community. So they're starting, the big ones are going to be about 1.5 and then the smaller ones, because they have 3 condos in 8 buildings towards the bottom. And each of those are about 350 to 400,000.
So 1.5 is millions, right?
Yes.
That is amazing. And you're an international realtor developer. I think so many of us get so confined by what we know is possible and don't think about what could be possible. And so you're now, I mean, this opens up a whole new world. Like, where can't you go now? Where to Wheelock, if you guys don't know, Jeff mentioned it, where to Wheelock is 2 or 3 parts. One is you're going around Manhattan and New York, showing different cool neighborhoods, boroughs, coffee shops, bars. There's also where you've interviewed people like me, where to around the world, where are these realtors having their businesses, but it's literally also where the hell is Erin going to start a development next in the world? So I'm so inspired by that, and that opens my mind to more things. And so I thank you for that personally. Anything else on Albania you wanted to add?
Nothing else about Albania, but I do have to say, like, honestly, this all came from watching things like this, right? Where people were interviewed, or going to family reunion, or watching some of the YP courses online. Like, you nailed it on the head. You don't know what you don't know. And you have to start putting yourself in these, yes, Thailand, you have to start putting yourself in these scenarios to learn what's possible, so that you can expand your vision and what you thought was possible. Because I know all of us can do amazing, huge things. You just have to get around the people and put in the time to watch things, to learn what you can do, find what sticks, and then make it happen.
You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And if you start spending time with international property developers or KW Worldwide, what do you think is going to happen, right? So if you've been on the fence about joining YP or reaching out to someone like me or Erin, we could maybe be that person to you on your journey, wherever you are now. Just jump in. You notice this theme, guys? It's just action oriented. Don't wait, don't worry, jump in and figure it out. Now, obviously there's some times you want to pump the brakes a little bit, maybe before making large investments, but you've heard Erin talk about how, and this is years in the development where this is coming. She didn't just follow a shiny object. She was following where she was already going and figured out what could she do there. So what are you passionate about? Are you passionate about yoga? Are you passionate about dogs, brewing beer, micro investing in third world countries? Like, take your passion and let that be what becomes your why in your business. Your why doesn't just have to be making more money. It doesn't have to be selling 50 homes this year, or it could be 5 homes this year. Think big, get around people like Erin who are going to inspire your world, and Jeff to level up to not that it's all about growing and success. It's not a materialism. It's a realizing those dreams in your heart that you never thought were possible. And that's what I posted about the wealth thing on Monday. The more I hang out with you guys with YP and with KW, the more I become the person I didn't think was possible, but I always wanted to be. So
I love that.
We talked about, let's go to those young agents. What advice do you have for agents who are thinking about getting into real estate, but scared, or maybe they've been in for a year or two and they're just about to call it quits?
Yes. So number one, I think you have to, and again, the New York market is a little different. I think just because it takes about 3 to 4 months to close on a sale. So this might be a little bit different, depends on what your market is like. So the first thing I think is you have to have a reality check of, do I actually have a passion for this? Because I always tell people in our office, like, you can go sit at a desk and make, $100,000 a year, working 9 to 5, not on the weekends. The world is burning outside. You could do that for like $100,000 a year, right? Or you can build a huge business, but you're going to beat your head against the wall for a little bit in the beginning. And you just have to like it enough to want something big enough for that to make sense for you. So I think it's first just having a reality check that this isn't $1 million listing, right? Or whatever it's called, or $1 million LA, whatever, or the agency, or what is it? Selling Sunset, right?
Selling Sunset. Yep.
As much as I want all of their clothes, don't get me wrong. That's just not what this reality is. It's hard work, but if you love it, it's amazing, and you can build something huge. So I think first is getting really, really honest with yourself on if this is the right move, especially because you'd be coming into a shifting market. One thing I will say is shift makes the best agents, because those who stick with it learn the best skills and build huge lives, especially if you start in a shift. Oh my gosh, great time to get in the market, because you're going to learn the skills that other people who maybe got in 2 years ago maybe didn't have to learn because it was a great market, right? So getting real with that, and then just always knowing that you can ask for help, get into groups, learn from other people. I mean, I have so many notebooks. I learned from everyone. I've even been writing down things here. Just learn, and stay humble, and don't forget to lead gen. Because I think the killer of the new agent is you get one lead, you work that lead and work that lead and work that lead and work that lead. And then all of a sudden you get the check and you're like, oh shit, I don't have anything anymore, but this one check. So you have to go back to the beginning. But if you really like read the MREA, read the one thing, learn how to build a business, right? Where you always spend just a couple of hours lead generating, then you won't have that rise and fall of a client, nothing, one client, nothing. Yeah. Blah, blah, blah.
Can I give a lead gen hack to anyone listening to this? Honestly, I posted something on my story yesterday from James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits. And he said, doing something is better than doing nothing. Like if you have a goal and you want to get somewhere, if you want to do 100 push-ups in a day and you realize it's 9:30 p.m. and you forgot and there's no way you're going to do it, do one. It'll change how proud you are of yourself, a 0 versus a 1. If you need to make some phone calls in the morning, Erin mentioned the MREA model, which if you don't know that, it refers to millionaire real estate agent. Gary Keller thoroughly researched it with the top agents outside of KW and within about 20 years ago and put together essentially this Bible or this manual on how to succeed and build a business. And it talks about doing 2 to 3 hours of lead generation a day, right? There's some successful teams that do 1 hour a day. There's some successful people that do 0 hours per day. But if you need to make calls, call one of us. Call me or Erin first. We'll give you a 30-second or a 3-minute pep talk. You'll get your energy going. And I guarantee you your next call will be a million times easier. Find somebody in YP. Anyone on this call, I know because they're showing up here today, would be more than happy to be your first call of the day. It could be once a week, once a month, or every single day. You call the same person just to get in that habit. We also have ready-made for you daily calls, scripts, and role plays. So talk to your market center, follow the YP Facebook group, and find a call that you can hop in and just listen on. We do this one every month. Megan down in Florida put her cell phone in the chat. We won't put that on YouTube. Don't worry, Megan, for everyone to call you 10 years from now. You said I could call you. The one question I want to ask, and then I'm going to open it up for anyone else that has questions before we let Erin get back to her day. Being a talented people person and realtor and salesperson is very different than being a talented business owner and a team leader. So how do you transition from being great at sales to being great at managing people and teaching them to do sales?
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you brought that up. This is a perfect time to talk about this. So here's the truth. I'm not great at everything. I'm so far from a great manager. I'm reactionary to things when I shouldn't be sometimes, right? Like something happens, I immediately react, right? And I think some of the skills that I'm working on are, number one, not that. Number two, my tone, I'm a high D. I like to be just super direct. So I think the first thing is learning what you can do better and then going out there and finding people that do that at a high level. And what did they have to do? Like, I know I listen to empire builders a lot. I love when there was one episode that Sarah Reynolds, who I admire her so much. She does like $2 billion a year in business. She's built a huge world. She, on one of the episodes, mentioned that like aggressive is her number one behavior style.
Yeah, I heard that one. Yeah. That was a great episode.
Yes. And then it was like, everyone's that's here. And I was like, oh my gosh, wait, I'm not just a raging like bitch. This is just my style that I, get to work on. And then they spoke about how they worked on it. So I've had to learn my faults, especially with working with others, so that I can learn how to do it better. And now, though, I will say I'm hiring someone better than me. Jen is way better than me. Jen is so amazing. Like those systems, I didn't build those systems. I partially built them. I was doing it and she was like, no, we need to write this down and organize this so that everyone can do it. It's not just in your head. Yep. So hire better people than you around you. My next hire is going to be a team manager, because I would way rather just love on the team, role play with them more, script practice with them more, get them better skills, better conversion rates, than holding them accountable to tracking their numbers, holding them accountable to hitting their goals. So that's going to be the new hire, because I'm not great at that position, but I'm really good at helping them to succeed and build big lives. So I need to hire someone now for a position that just isn't my forte.
It all comes back to knowing yourself, knowing what you're good at and staying in that. If you operate outside of that, you mentioned you're outside of alignment, it may work for a little while, but you're going to burn out. That's where burnout happens. And when we are true to who we are, first you have to know it, and then you have to have the courage to do that. For a lot of us real estate agents, we have egos. This summer for me has been a big one of being honest about my limitations and accepting those, and learning to let go of my ego. So thank you for leading in that space and being honest about that. I want to check here. It's 11:59 Eastern. Does anyone have a question they want to hop on and ask Erin before we hop off? Feel free to
I'm
just
also
unmute.
an open book, guys, so I really will answer anything.
While people are thinking of their questions, Erin, if anyone wants to follow up with you, if anyone wants to send your wonderful team a referral for the Manhattan area, you cover Manhattan as well. What boroughs, what's your jurisdiction up there that you cover?
Yeah, I'm going to put my information here. I cover Manhattan, Brooklyn, and Queens. So sorry, his laptop's a little slippery and I keep trying to type on my keyboard, but I'm using a laptop. So one thing to note is that Manhattan doesn't have an MLS. I wish it was really easy and I could just say I work these boroughs, but the truth is we have a different system. So I work everything within this system, but if it gets like super far out Queens next to like Long Island,
yeah,
I'll be super honest and let you know that we're not going to be the best fit for it. But anything in Manhattan, most of Brooklyn, and a very good portion of Queens, I would love to help serve your client.
Is email the best way? Text, Instagram, Facebook DMs? How should someone get on hold of you?
I would love, there we go. All of the above. Email can sometimes get lost.
Okay.
Text is good. Email is also good. And yeah, and DMs. I'm going to be honest. I need to be better about social DMs. So maybe that's not the best way.
Okay. Okay. Well, let me know when you put that time block on your schedule and I'll let you know to make sure you're doing it.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Please
And
hold
what
me
you,
accountable.
in case you didn't hear it, again, Erin, even in the boroughs that she covers, even in a high price point market like New York, she says, if it's outside of what we're good at, we're going to refer you to someone else. So people, if you take anything away, get to know yourself, be honest about it, get experiences that scare you so you can learn more. Am I this or not? And be okay with that. And then surround yourself with people who are going to help you become who you want to be. You don't have to be the Erin Wheelock if you don't want to. You can be an individual agent that sells one home a year and have a great fulfilled life on that. So reflect on what's important to you. And ultimately, that's why we're here. We're not here to sell a million houses and all be the exact same. We're here to be whatever we want to be. So I know Erin agrees with that. That's the reason why Erin's on this call. It's the reason why we're friends. You inspire me. So I can't thank you enough. Before we hop off, does anyone have a burning question, or we can all go about our days?
Thank you so much for having me, Patrick. I really appreciate this. And you inspire me as well. Javi, good luck in Thailand. I'm excited for your new development over there. And thank you everybody who was on, and please feel free to reach out if you do ever have any questions. But of course, YP, got to give it up for YP.
Yeah, of course. Erin, thanks so much. Everybody have a great day. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
God bless y'all.
You too.